Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Faye Gerard. I work for BP. I have been I'm a chemical engineer. Went to Tuskegee University. I'll tell you what year I graduated, then you'll be able to tell my age. I also have an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration as well. I absolutely enjoy what I do. I've been doing it since I was 20 years old. I knew I wanted to be an engineer working in oil since I was about 5 years old. I am from Washington, D.C., but I always knew I wanted to end up in the South, in Texas, in Louisiana, to be that engineer. So I normally don't dress like this when I'm at work. I'll tell you how I dress. I dress like this when I go to work. I have on, this is we call these coveralls. They are fire retardant. Does anyone know what fire retardant means? What does it mean?
Have fire touches it and something will blow up.
Yes, and hopefully fire won't touch it, especially on my day. You're exactly right, meaning that if I'm ever in contact with a fire, that it won't burn my skin.
How long have you been doing that?
I have been an engineer for 23 years.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I have been in different roles in engineering, meaning, and I'll probably tell you, let me tell you a little bit more what I do after I show you pictures, okay? Because then you'll get a better idea of what I'm saying. Yes, sir.
So like, when did you start wanting to be an engineer? Did you start whenever you were 4 or 5?
You know, that's a very good question. Actually, at 5 years old, through these type of programs like this, I was in Washington, D.C., and they didn't call them STEMs back then. That was way, way, way too long ago. They just called them science academies. And I would go to the science academies, and I liked touching things, and I liked the oil, and I liked gasoline. I liked the processing of gasoline. You know, Mom and Dad have that gasoline they put in the car to make it run. That's what I liked. So that's what I worked on, designing that. That's a very good question. Let me show you a few pictures. But I'm going to show you what I do offshore. So here's a video that I think I can go. So this is actually what I do when I go offshore around the world. I didn't take it. It was a crew that goes with us as we go offshore. And the platforms in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, in the middle of the water, in the middle of Alaska. No, not on this one, no. That's the ships that transport some of the oil to be processed offshore. That's in Egypt. Travel a lot. These are the videos that we're watching, a big room full to determine where the oil is under the water. This is some of the equipment that is used that I look at.
So how long does it take you to build?
To build those kind of facilities takes 10 to 15 years. Right, exactly. There are some on land though. It takes 10 to 15 years and normally it's $250 million to a couple $1 billion to build. That's under the water. That's the equipment we use under the water. That's just kind of business. So engineers, it's a team of engineers that work this. It's usually a chemical engineer like me. We look at the chemicals, the oil piece of it. We're using a mechanical engineer that looks at the piping, the pipes you saw. Our electrical engineers look at the electrical components, like computers and stuff like that. Yeah. And then of course we do have a computer science engineer who develops all the computer technology for these projects. You'll also have safety engineers to make sure you're safe, making sure that nothing explodes. That's in the middle of the water. Yes, that's in the North Sea. How much would it cost to build something like that? About $1 billion. No, that's not my paycheck. No, I wish my paycheck was there.
So how do you determine where you're going to set up such a facility?
Yeah. So how do you know where you're going to build? It all depends on where. So they have a team called geologists. That's also a science field. And a geologist will tell you, we're able to look at some charts, looking at heating charts under the water table and see what oil is. So you know how you've heard, like, if anyone has watched Dallas, J.R. Ewing, and you know how they drill on U.S. soil and land in people's backyards and know what pops up and there's oil? We do that in the sea too, in the water. A lot of your oil reserves are in the water, but they're not usually in the United States. They're in other countries. That's why you hear of all these oil companies going to other countries. So once the geologist, geology is a major, once they find out where the oil is under the water, that's when we'll build a platform and start drilling. So you asked the question very good question on where do you find the oil? How do you know where it is? When we do find it, I'm going to show you what we do. This is how we drill the oil. I think this is so once the oil is found somewhere, this is the equipment that will drill and bring it back up to the surface, and then we'll process it to make gasoline for your cars or heating oil and stuff like that for you. So this is actually on those platforms. After you find it, this is the people getting ready, and they're going to drill a well. They call it a well. Just like a water well. When you, back in a long time ago, when instead of getting water from your faucet, there used to be water wells. Here are all the places around the world that we have. Yep. Can you hear that?
Yes.
These are placed on the bottom of the sea. They're basically umbilical lines, just like cords put together, and help us to drill off of different areas on the bottom of the sea. These are all the computers that we look at to find where that oil is. Heat simulation. We send boats out. If we drill in one place, we can send a boat out, and the boat can hold a capacity of the oil, so we can come and process it somewhere to make gasoline. This is Trinidad right here. Trinidad and Tobago. They found some oil somewhere, and they'll start the drilling. They'll drill at that place right there in the middle of the water, and then they'll bring it onto the land to start processing it into gasoline and other products that we use. This one you'll see is in the Middle East, Egypt area. They found a spot in the middle of nowhere, and we'll start drilling, finding that oil. Yeah. Another place you'll see next is in the Gulf of Mexico, off of Louisiana, off of Texas, here locally.
I've seen pictures of that.
Have you seen this one? Yes.
I've seen pictures of it.
Yep, we drill offshore. I'll take a helicopter offshore and land out there. I go there as well. And we'll drill there, find the oil, and bring it back to either a refinery in Texas or a refinery in Louisiana to process it.
But smells like oil pollutes, and he'll break the oil out.
Okay, so did everyone hear what he just said? You don't want to make oil because oil pollutes. So guess what my job is at BP? I am the technical authority to make sure that we do not pollute the community. That's exactly what I do. I make sure.
Electric cars are cheaper.
Okay, so what I do is I go around and do the valuation. I determine to make sure that we have no impact on us. That's what I do. I have a team that models things to make sure we're not impacting the community or the health. That's exactly what I do to make sure that there is no pollution. And what other technologies? I'll create technologies to make sure that we're not doing that and doing it safer. So that's a good point you bring up. Engineering degrees are 4 to 5 years. Doctorates are about 8 to 12 years. Yeah. Engineers start off at about $75,000. As far as engineering, you have an opportunity to be creative if you like the creative side, and you get to invent different things. Some things are done not on purpose at all. You just stumble upon it. So as an engineer, as I'm working every day, and I see something that, hey, you know what, I think I can do it a shorter way by using X amount of chemical. I can create things just by looking at past data. And so you as an engineer have the opportunity to potentially impact the world based on an invention that you can do. It's called a patent, and a lot of engineers have patents.